My name is Matthias Allgaier. I'm part of the Central Engineering Unit at SAP, where we take care about the technology strategy for the intelligent enterprise. And my work focus is on the integration strategy overall, covering the business technology platform and all of the different services here. So in this session, I would like to give you an overview on our integration solution advisory methodology. So this is no product talk, no specific product talk. It's much more a talk on how you can define an integration strategy for your organization. So we see this also complementary to our technology portfolio. So we have a lot of dedicated integration sessions on our specific integration services. In this session, I would like to complement this with a methodology that we provide for enterprise architects that want to plan and organize a hybrid integration platform for their organizations. So what's on the agenda for this session today? So first of all, of course, integration is a very important foundation for the intelligent enterprise. And when we are talking to customers, we also see that the scope of integration is increasing. So we see a lot of challenges for enterprise architects who are in charge to plan an overall integration platform, integration strategy for their organizations. So in the first part, I briefly want to recap on the challenges. And then in the second part, that's also the main part of this session, I would like to introduce you to the methodology, to the integration solution advisory methodology. And here I will also focus on how you can apply this methodology in your organization. So it's a walk through the methodology, and I will also give you in this walkthrough an overview on the integration services and on the dedicated products that we also offer you from SAP side for an integration platform. So this will be the main part. And then in the third part, I would like to also complement the technology and methodology area with the CIO Guides for integration. So we have also published in the last years a CIO Guide for integration that also gives you technology recommendations, also recommendations on integration patterns, when to use what integration service. So this will be covered in the CIO Guide for integration. So this is also complementary to the methodology. And finally, we'll also provide a template for the methodology. So if you are interested in exploring the methodology and applying it within your organization or in your services, if you are a SAP partner. So we have a free PowerPoint template also available. I will come to this in the last part. And the questions, as this session is also recorded, we will do at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's get started. And so I would like to briefly start with the intelligent enterprise. As you have also seen this today in the keynote, integration is really the foundation for the intelligent enterprise. You have probably seen this overview on the intelligent enterprise. So the idea is that we bring all of our applications and also technology parts together in order to form an intelligent enterprise. And so this strategy has three main components. So the first one that you can see here on top, it's the intelligent suite. So this is the combination of our products like S/4HANA, like Ariba, like Fieldglass, SuccessFactors, C/4HANA. With this combination, we form an intelligent suite. So this is the key foundation here. Then we have the intelligent technologies with Leonardo, with IoT, with analytics that provide also a key foundation for the intelligent suite. And we have the digital platform, or as you have also seen this today in the keynote, the evolution is the business technology platform that really provides the foundation and provides also the key capabilities when it comes to integration. So this comprises the SAP Cloud Platform, the integration services that we have there, but also the integration services around HANA and analytics and IoT. So this will be the foundation. And so in this talk, I would like to deep dive with you on the integration strategy that we have defined overall at SAP to really enable this intelligent enterprise, and it's based on four principles. So the first principle is about out-of-the-box integration. So this means for SAP to SAP integrations, we will continue to deliver prepackaged integration scenarios for cloud platform integration, as we also do this already today. But we will also go one step further, and we are working on the alignment of our APIs. So this was also mentioned today in the keynote. that we also working on the simplification of integration. This means, for example, a business partner that resides in multiple SAP applications will have the same semantics over time, the same structure, so that we also simplify the integration between SAP to SAP applications. So that's all that we are doing in the area of out-of-the-box integration. Then, of course, it's not only about SAP to SAP. So we also see the hybrid integration needs of customers. So openness is also a key foundation for the overall integration strategy, so that we are open to integrate SAP solutions, products with non-SAP applications, with business partners, with public authorities, so that you can cover all of the different non-SAP integration needs with the platform. Then the third principle, it's about holistic integration, so that what we see is that the traditional discipline of integration is really increasing. So in the past, we had traditional process integration scenarios, we had data integration scenarios, but now we also have to integrate analytical applications, we have to integrate user-centric mobile apps, for example, we have to integrate machine sensors, so it's a whole bunch of different integration needs and patterns that we see. And so as part of our strategy, we also cover all of these different flavors and patterns of integration, what we call holistic integration. And the last principle, it's also about simplification. So we are not only embedding intelligence in our business processes, but we also want to simplify integration itself. And we also want to automate integration as far as possible. And one area here is that we are also using machine learning techniques, for example, to get proposals for mappings, to get also proposals of how you can customize complex interfaces. One example in this area, and a very important example, is the Cloud Platform Integration Advisor. So that's one service on the SAP Cloud Platform that exactly leverages machine learning techniques to simplify integration by means of getting proposals and so on. And so you will also find this overview in multiple sessions in the integration track. And so in this track, I would like to deep dive with you on the holistic integration principle, because it's not only about technologies, it's also about the methodology that we provide for enterprise architects to define an overall integration strategy. Okay. So when we are talking to enterprise integration architects in our customer base, we can really see an increasing need for integration. So we see the need to integrate with cloud applications. We see the need to integrate mobile apps. We have the need to integrate B2B. So it's, from a customer perspective, a lot of different integration scenarios need to be covered. And so the traditional landscapes are fast evolving into hybrid landscapes with different integration needs. And so I have covered a couple of key challenges from enterprise architects, integration architects, that we can see. So one is about how can you evolve your existing integration architecture to the next level, to the next generation? How can you reshape your strategy in order to cover these integration needs? The second, it's all about the hybrid integration platform. So how can you build an integration platform for your organization that covers all of your different integration needs? How can you also provide guidance to your project teams, to your solution architects on when to use what technology? So this is related to, I've called it here, integration governance. So how can you also provide governance around integration? And also, how can you implement agility within your integration practice? Yeah? How can you also enable non-integration developers to do some kind of integration on their own? How can you also scale your integration knowledge within your organization? And to support enterprise architects in this journey, we provide the integration solution advisory methodology that's in the center of this talk today. So this is basically a methodology that is technology agnostic, that basically covers typical and captures typical integration patterns that we can frequently see in customer landscapes. And so we have collected these patterns and also added technology recommendations from SAP side to give you an idea of how you can implement the patterns. And so we have adopted this methodology in multiple global organizations, either by sub-consulting support as an optional or by partners. Also, customers have adopted it on their own. We are also using it within our SAP Enterprise Architecture group, as we also have the same integration challenges as you have as customers. And we are also providing a free PowerPoint template for the methodology. So if you want to explore or use it or use parts of it, I will come to this at the end of the presentation. Feel free to reach out to us. And the idea, I think it's very simple. We captured typical integration patterns. We have classified these integration patterns in a hybrid landscape. And you can then map these integration patterns to technologies, services, considering your customer context. Therefore, the openness of the methodology, it's also a very important aspect. Okay. And now in the main part of this lecture, I would like to give you an overview on the methodology and walk you through step by step to give you an idea of how you can use it, how you can also leverage it within your organization or projects. And we have defined a cycle for the methodology so that you can see here with these 4 phases. So these are also the use cases that we see for integration enterprise architects. So first of all, what can you do with the methodology? You can use it as an integration strategy assessment tool or template. So if you want to update, reshape your integration strategy, you can use it as a blueprint. And define, okay, what are your integration use cases that you need to cover? What are the integration scenarios where you maybe also want to improve? In the second phase, you can then map these integration use cases to technologies and form your hybrid integration platform. So this mapping is open for integration services from SAP, but also from non-SAP. So for example, if you have an API management solution from a non-SAP provider, you can also include this into your governance. And then the third phase, if you have defined your tool and service strategy, you can also attach architecture blueprints to this use cases and patterns that also provide you an overview of, for example, how do you implement an A2A pattern, how you implement a data orchestration pattern. And then if you have done this, you can also use it in order to roll it out in your organization and enable your solution project teams to use the patterns, and with this also come to a systematic way of integration. And I would like to deep dive now in each of the 4 phases with you and also relate this to other sessions that we provide to give you an overview on the different aspects. So let's get started with the first phase. It's the integration strategy assessment. So typically what we can see is that customers want to document their integration landscape. So depending on your maturity level, if you do not have a good documentation on your integration approach, you can use it here. You can then also do a scoping. So what areas of integration do you maybe want to improve? Maybe identify future building blocks. For example, if you have IoT integration needs, identify new patterns that you want to cover. And so there are typical reasons or triggers for an integration strategy assessment. We see it, I have listed a couple of them on the slide. So we see a lot of customers doing an integration strategy assessment before migrating to S/4HANA. So this is a typical task that we see. But we also have customers that are implementing new cloud applications, SaaS applications, multiple SaaS applications. And before doing this, they also want to document and make a clear decision on the integration platform. But we also see merger acquisitions where you have to bring together different integration tools in your organization. So there are, depending really on your customer needs, there are different reasons why you want to start an integration strategy assessment. And so how do we do this assessment? So we have defined in the methodology so-called integration domains, so that you can see here on this slide. So integration domains typically abstract a hybrid landscape a hybrid customer landscape, where you have the traditional on-prem integration technologies with Business Suite, S/4HANA on-prem. And so you have to integrate this with non-SAP applications on-prem. So this is a typical domain of SAP process orchestration. Then you have, if you want to extend and also use innovations in the cloud and you introduce new cloud applications, we have this on-prem to cloud, this hybrid integration needs, cloud to cloud integrations, B2B, B2G. So these are all typical integration domains that integration architects have to cover in their organization. Where the middle part is traditionally process and data-centric integration. We have on the left-hand side also the user-centric area of integration. So how can you integrate with mobile apps? How can you integrate Fiori applications with your backend applications? And on the right-hand side, you see the IoT world. Yeah? How can you integrate data from sensors, machines, and so on with your backend applications? So you can use these integration domains. They are completely technology agnostic. And of course, you can also extend it and adapt it to your specific needs. And you can use this also as a first step of doing an integration strategy assessment for your organization. Okay, so these are the integration domains. First important pillar of the methodology. And if we also refine this now with typical use case patterns, so as I mentioned in the beginning, in the methodology, we have covered for multiple projects, typical use cases. And so also very important, we have 4 key integration styles of how we call this. So it's process integration in green, data integration, user-centric integration, and thing integration. What you can see here also with the colors, they are completely consistent in the methodology. And so these styles cover typical use case patterns like A2A integration, B2B integration in the process integration area, or data integration where you have data replication, virtualization patterns, so there are different patterns there. User integration, you want to integrate mobile apps, for example, or thing integration, you want to integrate with a data lake. So there are different use cases there. And what you can also see below it are so-called cross-use case section, where we have use cases included that also go cross-process data user, like API management or API managed integration. You can use it for a process, but also for a user-centric integration scenario as one example. There we have patterns like event-based integration, robotic process automation as also one new upcoming pattern in here. And so very important here are 2 aspects. So the first one, these patterns are technology agnostic. So later in the methodology, you can map them to specific integration services technologies. And the second one, it's also this library is extensible. It highly depends on your customer project context of what is your scope of integration. This means you can also add your own customer-specific use case patterns and plug it into the methodology. But you, of course, can also remove patterns that are not relevant in your landscape to make it as simple as possible. Yeah? So this is very important that the methodology itself is extensible. Yeah, and I think with the integration domains and these use case patterns, you can do a first assessment of your integration strategy. That is the first part of the methodology. And then in the second part, you can then map it to integration services and technologies that are relevant in your landscape, and also derive the integration guidelines or the integration governance out of this for your organization. And so mapping is also very important. It's always highly related to the customer context. So what is your application strategy? What is your future application landscape? What are your skill sets, investments? So this highly depends on your context. And so what we have prepared for this session is a walkthrough of the technology mappings, typical sample mappings. Here again, you can see how you map this. So this means that you, for example, can map process integration scenarios to integration technologies like cloud platform integration. Yeah? So this could be one integration guideline that you want to define for your organization. Or in the data integration area, if you have a data orchestration pattern, you can map it to the SAP Data Hub. Or a cross use case could be API managed integration. You can map it to your API management solution. So this is very important that the concepts and the patterns are technology agnostic, and it's open to be mapped to your specific services in your context. And this is also then your hybrid integration platform that you are building. And so what I would like to do now is to walk you through this landscape with the integration domains for typical scenarios, and also map this to our technology recommendations that we have from SAP to give you a sample mapping and also an overview of related deep dive sessions on the specific topics, right? So this example here, it's covering typical process integration in hybrid scenarios, cloud-to-cloud scenarios, B2B integration, B2G integration. And for this, we have the SAP Cloud Platform Integration Suite. So this is a suite of integration services. So this is our iPaaS integration platform as a service offering, where we also have a lot of different lectures and also hands-on sessions here at TechEd. So here you can leverage prepackaged integration content for cloud platform integration that you can find on the API Business Hub. As part of the Cloud Platform Integration Suite, we have also the Integration Advisor that leverages machine learning capabilities to simplify integration. So we have also a lecture on this one. And it covers also the openness. So we have the Cloud Platform Open Connectors as part of this suite that allows you to connect to more than 160 pre-built connections to non-SAP applications. And of course, Cloud Platform Integration is complementary to SAP Process Orchestration that we also cover in a roadmap session here at TechEd. And from an integration architecture perspective, process integration, what are the key characteristics? So it's all about chaining business processes. So it's not only about exchanging data, it's really chaining business processes across applications, where you also have to take care about transactional process integrity as one key quality. And so I have also added two links here for additional sessions. If you want to go into more details on this process integration topic, feel free to attend these sessions. Then a second example, and that's also a bit forward-looking. So for SAP to SAP integration to form this intelligent suite, we have also defined some key integration principles that we want to follow. So you have seen some of these integration principles also in the keynote this morning by Jürgen. So this means for SAP to SAP, we will really try to simplify the integration as much as possible. And so we have also defined, so we execute this intelligent enterprise strategy on key end-to-end processes that we have defined across our portfolio. And we will also forward-looking base this integration strategy on clear technology standards. This means SAP to SAP integrations will, for the intelligent enterprise, will follow clear process documentation. We will work on aligned APIs to simplify SAP to SAP integration, to minimize the mapping and integration needs. So this was covered this morning with the semantic APIs that you might remember. Then we are also working on a master data service to really also simplify the synchronization of master data between cloud applications. I put also a reference to this into the appendix of the session. And we are also working on a consistent UI integration and a consistent application lifecycle management. And so this is also the forward-looking strategy for SAP to SAP integration. And so if you are also interested in this intelligent enterprise scenarios, we have two sessions on this. So tomorrow we will have the INT 103 that we will run to give you a deep dive on this integration DNA for the intelligent suite. So what are the standards? So this is also forward-looking of how we integrate SAP to SAP. So this is tomorrow morning at 8. And we will also have, or we also have a second session focusing more on the end-to-end scenarios to show you how these principles are applied in our processes that you can find in the second link here. So that's the process integration area. Then if we move forward to data integration, Here, what we also have seen in the keynote, we have the SAP Data Hub and SAP Data Intelligence. So that's the evolution of the SAP Data Hub, combining the SAP Data Hub with machine learning capabilities as part of the SAP Cloud Platform. So here you are not integrating business processes, but you are rather focusing really on the orchestration of data, also orchestration of big data. So we also have a clear characteristics for data integration scenarios. So you're typically working on data storage level, not in a business process context. You are typically also including machine learning and transformation capabilities in order to prepare data to be used in the applications. And so the Data Hub also integrates with existing data integration technologies like data services or smart data integration in the HANA. And for this portfolio, I have also added the two links. So we have the DAT 103 session where you can also get an overview and deep dive on the data integration topics, and where you will also get more guidance on when to use what integration technology for data integration. And also a frequent question that we can see in projects, so when to use a process integration service, when to use a data integration service. We have added this slide here for the process integration based on cloud platform integration. So here you are focusing much more on the integration on a transactional business process level, where you are chaining process steps between applications. Typically you are working with APIs, maybe also with an event pattern. So typically you are working on single messages like sales orders, and you have to take care about the transactional integrity if you are integrating process steps across applications. And compared to this, the data integration with the Data Hub and the SAP Data Intelligence, it's about orchestration of data, not of processes. We are typically using data level access, table access, data storage access in this area. And so we are also working on an interoperability between both worlds. So for example, you can also plug in or invoke cloud platform integration out of the SAP Data Hub orchestration pipeline if you, for example, want to leverage some of the adapters and capabilities in cloud platform integration. So you can also find more guidance on this topic in the CIO Guides for integration that I have also included into this presentation. Then if we move forward to the user-centric integration, so typical patterns here are UI integration. If you map this to SAP technologies, the SAP Fiori Launchpad is the central entry point to your applications, where you have a role-based access, and where you also have the SAP Fiori 3 user experience covered in there. Another pattern, it's a mobile integration pattern, where we also have a mobile service on the SAP Cloud Platform. So this is your development platform for enterprise mobile apps, where you also get SDKs for Android, for iOS that you can use here. Also supporting online, offline support, and taking care about application lifecycle management, device management in this area. And again, here also some references. So we have also dedicated sessions on the Fiori Launchpad, dedicated sessions on Fiori and the evolution of Fiori that I have also included here. And the second reference, it's about the mobile services, if you are interested in here. So here you get also the deep dive in this area. Okay, so if we again move to the next pattern, and integration domains, it's about IoT. If you want to integrate IoT data, machine sensor data with your backend applications for process or analytical reasons. So we have the SAP Leonardo IoT portfolio in this area. So that's part of the intelligent technologies. And also related there, the SAP Cloud Platform IoT Internet of Things service. And this allows you to integrate data coming from machine sensors with your business applications. And what we also heard this morning in the keynote, We are also working on an interoperability with other hyperscalers for IoT, like Microsoft, so that you can also use these capabilities in combinations with our SAP Leonardo IoT portfolio. And from an integration architecture perspective, so what are the key characteristics in these scenarios? So you have to take care about device lifecycle management if you are using multiple devices. You have to take care about specific IoT protocols like MQTT. So these are all dedicated capabilities and requirements. You have to take care about data ingestion, data storage. So if you have high frequent events coming in, you have to take care about also time series management. And of course, you might also have the need from an integration architecture perspective to have some capabilities on the edge, so that you have also some filtering capabilities, some aggregation capabilities on the edge level. So that's also covered in this portfolio. And so we have also one session that does a deep dive exactly on this area of integration, where you can get a blueprint for the SAP Leonardo IoT. So it's the first one that I have here on this slide. And the second one, it's about an application scenario of how you apply these technologies in the field services area. So this should also give you an idea of how you can map these different integration domains and patterns to technologies in your landscape. Okay. I have also added a last pattern here. It's the event-based integration, because we also see an emergent or a clear need for this pattern in our customer interactions. So it's covered by the SAP Cloud Platform Enterprise Messaging Service that we have also seen in the keynote this morning. So here the idea is really to decouple applications, microservices based on events. So we are covering here typical message-oriented patterns like publish, subscribe, point-to-point messaging, pub-sub models. And you can use this service, for example, to expose events and also integrate your extension apps against these events. So we have also published first events on the SAP API Business Hub. So far we had on the API Hub, we had APIs, of course, but also the prepackaged integration content for cloud platform integration. And we are also evolving this offering now with event-based integration capabilities. So you will also find first event definitions already on the API Business Hub. And we are also supporting different protocols in this messaging area, like MQTT, REST, and others. And when it's also often a question, so when will you use event-based integration? So I think a key criteria here is the flexibility. If you have the need to, for example, to subscribe to some events and then do something, so it's a loose coupling of applications and microservices. And you can, of course, also use events in IoT scenarios where you also need some high-frequent messaging capabilities in here, where you, for example, also have some messaging peaks, some peaks that you have in the data traffic that you need to cover. We have also one session in this area that also go into the details of how you can use the messaging service in combinations with S/4HANA Cloud. So if you're interested in this specific pattern, it's also possible to get more details here. And of course, the Cloud Platform Enterprise Messaging, it's also a service of the SAP Cloud Platform Integration Suite as the overall umbrella of our integration services. And we are also using this, for example, in Cloud Platform Integration. So there's also an integration with Cloud Platform Integration to use event-based capabilities here. Okay, so this is some examples of how you can apply integration domains, patterns, and map it down to integration services in your organization. And on this slide, you again also find the summary of how you can use ISAM. So we have the integration domains in the first step that really describe a typical hybrid landscape that you can also extend to your specific needs, covering typical integration areas that you as an enterprise architect, integration architect, may want to cover, that you can also use for a first high-level integration strategy assessment. Then on the second level, we have the integration styles and use case patterns. So this is the collection of typical integration use cases, patterns that you can also extend with your own use cases, that you can, of course, also adopt to your specific needs, also simplify and remove patterns that are not relevant in your landscape. And then the technology mapping, here really covering your customer or project context and do it based on this context and map these use cases to technology and services in your organization. And of course, you can also include there an enterprise service bus, IoT platforms, data management, ETL tools, whatever you have in your landscape, so that you can really cover here an overall integration governance, and you can also roll this out in your organization. Yeah, so this was the second phase on the hybrid integration platform. So here, as a result, you will have your key building blocks of integration, and you will also have a clear understanding of what integration use case you use and how you map it to platforms. And so what we will also provide in future, it's also a refinement of the methodology with architecture blueprints. So if you have done the hybrid integration platform, then a typical next step is you have to break this down into maybe some patterns that you can use within your projects, that you can also hand over to your solution architects that actually implement your integration scenarios. And for this, we have also included now in the methodology this phase of architecture blueprints. So this means if you have a platform available, for example, cloud platform integration, and you have a pattern like A2A integration, you can then do a blueprint. What are the components? What are the components, for example, in your network zones? And you can refine this and roll this out also to your projects. So this should also allow you to bridge the gap between enterprise architecture and strategy and actually the implementation projects. And so as one example that and what I mentioned also, we will also include over time also additional architecture blueprints into the methodology. So far we have concentrated in phase 1 and 2. And so we are also working as an outlook on the architecture blueprints. We also have some blueprints already available on the SAP Cloud Platform. So I will also show you the idea of how you can also map this down to really solution architecture blueprints. So if we have, again, our integration styles and patterns, so this is technology agnostic, and if you now pick one pattern here, it's the digital integration hub pattern. So that's also an emerging pattern that we can see in the customer projects. So if you really want to safeguard your backend applications and provide scalable access through APIs to your backend applications, the digital integration hub pattern, it's a common pattern also used by analysts. So what you can do here is also to have a kind of a persistency in memory data space like HANA, and you can then expose your APIs and hide also the complexity and also the traffic from your backend applications. So what are the key characteristics here? You can expose a responsive user experience, a user interface to your front-end applications, being mobile applications. You can decouple really the front-end APIs in this pattern from the back-end applications. And you can protect your back-end applications, and you can also expose a neutral API to your outside world, and then also react with business insights and analytics to this pattern. We have also a dedicated lightning talk on this one. where you will also get more details. And this is how this solution architecture blueprint could look like for this use case pattern. And it's what you can also see here. It's a combination of different services out of the Cloud Platform Integration Suite. So you can have an end user working on a desktop mobile application, invoking services in the SAP Cloud Platform. Here we have the API management in this example that can read the data. So if it's a read request from the in-memory database here from HANA, so really hiding and protecting your backend application. And so if you want to change data, you can go through Cloud Platform Integration, maybe also through open connectors to also integrate third-party applications in this case. And you can also use then this connection to update the backends in your data center. And of course, you can also use enterprise messaging in this example to subscribe to business events in your applications, and then also bring this change data back into your SAP Cloud Platform. And so this is one sample pattern or one example of how you can map a platform agnostic pattern to a solution architecture blueprint. And so we have also done this in other projects, mapping also typical patterns to solution blueprints. And so this also could be refined by network zones. This could also be refined by typical criteria that you want to give your solution architects when to use this pattern. What we also see in project is that customers are also using this patterns for or this solution architecture blueprint, use it also as a foundation for documentation. So if you do then an interface implementation, you can also stick to this blueprint, and then you also have a consistent documentation across your applications and implementation projects. Okay, and as I mentioned, we will also evolve the methodology with additional examples. And of course, you can also adapt this blueprints to your specific needs, adding your components, adding also your specific requirements into these patterns. Can
applicable for on-premise system, or this is only for SAP public cloud?
No, that could also be on-premise.
Because we cannot use a cloud platform on-premise system, right? Currently,
Yeah. But what you can see here, it's also that S/4HANA is also on-prem, that you can also connect through Cloud Platform Integration with the Cloud Connector and include this also with your on-prem landscape. Yeah, so that's one example, as I mentioned, for a solution architecture blueprint. And then, so if we did the strategy assessment, if we did the hybrid integration platform, then we have extended it with architecture blueprints. One key challenge that we are seeing also in customer organizations is how can you roll this out into your organization? So how can you enable your organization to stick to a consistent integration strategy, to also apply this integration guidelines that you have created? And so in this phase, so this is also more an organizational management area, but I think that's also very important for having a higher integration maturity level. So with this methodology, you can establish integration as a recognized discipline in your organization. So really depending on your maturity level, on your organizational level. You can also plug this into an integration competence center or an integration COE that you might already have, and you can also position integration as a differentiator, because having clear and consistent integration patterns also allows you really to have a clear differentiator also compared to your competitors. You can, with the methodology, also create a holistic view. As we also see is that a lot of integration patterns are very low level. They are very difficult to communicate. Having really a crisp overview on what are the integration domains, what are your key integration styles. You can also share this knowledge within your organization and provide an overview. Maybe also attach your organization to it. So that's also something that we see that customers are also attaching their contact names, their lead architects to the different areas of this methodology. And you can also establish a knowledge sharing culture around this within your organization. This means that you can also get the feedback from your implementation teams and again bring it into the methodology and therefore also evolve your best practices in your organization, especially when you are also working with partners, system integrators that are doing the implementation. You can stick to a clear set of integration patterns and technologies. So I have also added a couple of typical tasks that we also can see in our customer interactions. So you can set up a dedicated strategy team around integration. You can roll out your guidelines in your organization. What we also see is that not all integration needs can be covered by a standardized integration approach. So you might always have some exceptions. So also one practice that we see that we also have implemented within SAP is that you also have an architecture board for these exceptions, so that you can do the 80% of interfaces based on the patterns that you have outlined, and maybe 20% of the integration scenarios where you have also specific needs coming from your project teams, you can then discuss in an architecture board. So that's also a best practice that we have seen. And of course, also looking into the future, we also want to enable non-integration experts to do some integration on their own. So some areas that we are also working on are citizen integrations. So these are simple integrations that can also be done by power users, business users that have not this clear integration skills, so that you can also from an integration competence center perspective have a step towards scaling your knowledge. So that's also an area where we are also investing at the moment to simplify integration also for non-SAP integration experts. An API hub, for example, and developer hub creating APIs that your project teams can reuse the APIs within your organizations are further examples here. Just some ideas of how you can also evolve your integration practice based on a systematic methodology into a practice of empowerment. And so how can you adopt the methodology? So that's also a frequent question that we have. And this highly depends also on your integration maturity level, also on your goals that you have that you want to achieve. So we have seen, for example, customers, organizations that have no clear integration strategy, that have ad hoc integrations, point-to-point integrations, that clearly want to come to a more a standardized way of integration. So this would be the first step, that you can apply the methodology, for example, by establishing a common overview on integration in your organization, establishing, for example, common terms of integration. Then you can do in a second step an integration strategy assessment that I have shown. So this is a typical task that we see in S/4HANA transition and move projects, where customers also want to reshape their integration, rework, rethink their integration strategy before moving to S/4HANA. And then if you also have the need to integrate or to establish some kind of integration governance, that you want to give guidelines to your project teams, you can do this in a third step, and then also scale this within your organization, rolling it out, and also enable your project teams with clear patterns, so that not every project is reinventing the wheel again. Okay, so that's a summary of the methodology. And so for the methodology, we have also, highly related to this, published a CIO Guide for integration. So the methodology covers more the technology agnostic part, with the patterns, with also the approach of how you can establish an overall integration strategy. And you also get related technology guidance and SAP technology recommendations in this CIO Guide for integration. So we have also So this was published last year, but we have also updated it this year and we will also update it, the guide on a constant basis, so that you from an enterprise architecture, integration architecture point of view also get the latest recommendations from our side. And so the guide is also based on the methodology, so this also goes hand in hand. So the systematic approach that I have shown here is also applied in this guide. And so it also follows these 4 key principles that I have shown on my first slide. So it's about out-of-the-box integration, what are we doing for SAP to SAP integration, open integration, holistic and AI-driven integration. We also included a chapter on the methodology and how does it link also to the technologies. And so we also covered process and data integration guidance with cloud platform integration, the SAP Data Hub. What are the patterns there? Also with API management, we have also included very detailed patterns. So we are also covering event-based integration, messaging patterns, and so on. And in addition, we also have this also very important areas of integration monitoring that are also highly related to an integration strategy with recommendations, also automation. So we are also working on the automated setup of integrations. For example, today you also have a lot of large documents to follow. If you want to integrate SAP applications, we have the Cloud Integration Automation Service published. So this is also a guided workflow that walks you through the configuration of integration scenarios. And as I mentioned, we will also step by step extend this guide with additional patterns and technology recommendations. Okay, and finally, I would like to also come to the ISAM template. So if you are interested in applying, exploring the methodology, also taking some parts of it that you might want to use in your organization or project. So if you are a partner and you also are working on integration strategies, assessments, etc. with your customers, we offer a PowerPoint template. So you can get this template through a jam group. So if you are interested, just send me an email on this and I can also add you to this group. And so this template basically includes all the topics that I have covered here in this session, also with additional links, with additional descriptions and hints of how you can use it and apply the methodology. And so feel free to reach out to us. And of course, we are also interested in getting your feedback on the methodology. So for example, we are also working with our executive advisory board customers. So this is also a round of very large customers from SAP, where we also have a dedicated work stream on these topics to really bring back the knowledge that we have in the projects and reflect this back into the methodology and again provide this to the community, complementary to our technology offering. Okay, so let me come to the last slide, the key takeaways, the summary. What we have seen today, it's the ISAM methodology with 3 key or 4 key use cases for enterprise architects. It's doing an integration strategy assessment, shaping up your hybrid integration platform, adding blueprints to the patterns and rolling it out within your organization. So to increase your integration maturity level. And as an outlook, what we have also on the plan for the evolution of the methodology, of course, we want to evolve it based on your customer and partner feedback. We are really keen to get this back from you and enrich it based on your experience. So we will also add additional patterns, like for example, analytics integration is one pattern that's also emerging now that we also want to include into the methodology. And as I also mentioned, we also want to close the gap between enterprise architecture and implementation projects by having the solution architecture blueprints in between. So we will also add this step by step to the methodology.